Good afternoon and welcome back to Growing Together, episode number 7. Today we have with us a teacher, a council member, and part of our church family in Hast.
Hi.
How you doing, Ann?
Good. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Where are you coming from?
I just got out of school at West Middle School. I teach 8th grade science.
How's that going?
Oh, good. We were rolling balls down ramps today, calculating kinetic energy, so it was fun.
It's been a while since I talk about science and I really don't remember anything.
Well,
Yeah.
as long as you just know where to look for answers, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Thank you for coming today, and I really appreciate that.
Sure.
So this space is to you to talk about your spiritual journey and whatever you want to share with us today.
Okay.
Um, so help us to understand who is Anne, how people would describe you.
Well, people that know me on the surface know me, I think, as a teacher because I've been teaching so long, and a mom. Um, I'm very much a mom to any age of person. I just like to mother people and problem solve and probably overdo it sometimes. But I think that's how most people know me. And then if they know me a little bit more, they know I'm very outdoors orientated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the science teacher in me.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm a little bit weird and quirky. And then the real people that know me know that for sure.
So did you, before being a mom, you were a teacher, or you were a mom and then the teacher?
I was a teacher first.
So that helped you to be a mom, or?
Absolutely. They go together. You know, if you're a mom first, then I think as you learn to teach, you have that understanding of what children need. And if you're a teacher first, then when you become a mom, you see what trials kids go through, and you kind of make goals to set your kids up for being successful even in middle school. You know, you look at that little face and you know you want to be there the whole time.
Have you always worked with middle schoolers, or?
I have had grades 6 through 12.
Okay.
My first year in Rapid, I was a full-time substitute at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of settled in to 8th graders who are a really cool group. You know, they're kind of becoming who they are. And I just love them. So that's where I have a choice now where to go, and that's where I stay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And what are your hobbies? What do you like to do other than teach?
Anything outdoors. We camp, we fish, we hike. We like to go boating. I'm in the backyard gardening. You know, anything outdoors. So I'm trying to come up with something to do for a winter hobby. Mainly, I just do schoolwork because I just want to get outside.
So I have a question out of the things that we have talked before, and is how you decide to jump on the council as the children, youth, and family representative. Is that comes from your love to teach, or what was the thing that you said I would like to do that?
Um, I have always enjoyed being involved in church because you feel more connected, I think, to the family, to the building, and to God when you are serving in church at some capacity. And so no matter what church I've been in throughout my life, I volunteered to do things, like teach Sunday school a lot. And I miss the kids. Now that my kids are gone, I don't do as much Wednesday school. So when Pastor Chris approached me about this, I just thought it'd be great. I thought I would really enjoy it. And my philosophy is, and I told Pastor Eric this, when I get asked to do something at the church, it's a yes, because I feel that that's what God is calling me to do, and that good things will happen if I just listen to Him.
There's a passion to help others.
Right.
That's neat. That's cool, Anne. So, Anne, about your spiritual journey, who has been impactful for you?
Well, I kind of told you I'd like to talk about my journey in recovery terms. I'm an alcoholic always will be, but I do celebrate 24 years of sobriety, recovery, happy, joyous, and free. They say when you're on that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to talk about my journey in terms of the recovery because I really look at it as my miracle.
Mm-hmm.
It is an absolute miracle to be in recovery, and I like to share it because so many people know someone who needs help or they need it themselves, and I want them to know there's hope. And so I share it sometimes with my students, and I guess anyone who will listen. And it's very spiritual. When I was a kid, I was really connected to God. I thought He hung on my every word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was kind of a weird thing for a little kid, but if I'd pray about something that had come true, I'd think, wow, God listened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And who says that's not true? But anyway, I was very close to God. And when I got to be, 13, 14, I started experimenting with alcohol, like some middle school age kids do. And there was really no big reason I started drinking. I had no idea that I had the gene in me that was going to pull the trigger and I was going to
Mm-hmm.
become a teenage alcoholic. And it came on very hard and fast, and my life changed a lot. And on a spiritual side, I was just pretty mortified that this was happening to me, and why would I do this? And so I kind of put God on mute. I didn't want to talk to God.
Mm.
I was ashamed.
Yeah.
And so that started, and I was an alcoholic, functioning alcoholic. Some would say maybe not, but
Mm-hmm.
up until I went to treatment in '97. Um, and in there were times there when I would try and get close to God, and I felt God was helping me, but He was helping me give up alcohol. And to someone with a disease, that's scary.
Mm.
To
You feel attached to that?
to alcohol,
Yeah, like.
completely, completely controlled by alcohol. Um, I really ended up towards the end. I hated alcohol. I hated picking it up and drinking it, but I still was completely controlled by it. And people don't really understand that unless they know somebody who is in the throes of that. It's not about, you know, being selfish or choosing alcohol over the people you love. Alcohol has you, and
Mm.
I believe it is. I believe it's part of Satan's plan,
Mm.
you know, to kind of control you in that way, control people through
Mm.
addiction. Um, so,
So first of all, congratulations, right? Like
thank you.
for your sobriety. I think there's a lot of courage. You need to be really like brave to take the next step to start to treat yourself, right? I don't have anybody that I know that is alcoholic, and then like this is the first person that I had contact with. Do you feel that during like, so there was a time that you already hate that alcohol and you were like still doing it even if you hate it? Do you feel that God left you at that time? Do you feel disconnected, or is still like you? How that experience with God was, because you were really connected before alcoholic, like alcoholism, right? So how that?
Well, I felt God was always there. I really knew He was always there. I think that was the faith in me. But I didn't want to reach out and let Him help me.
Mm.
He tried. There were friends, there were family,
Mm-hmm.
there were so many people who genuinely loved me and wanted to help me and worked very hard at doing so. And um, it wasn't until I finally had nothing else to lose. I'd lost my family. I was close to losing my job. My health was bad. And that's when my family got me to treatment.
Mm.
And at treatment, I was so blessed. I went to Hazelton in Minnesota. I was away from everything and just totally immersed in this environment where God was discussed, God was
Mm-hmm.
welcomed. And so I really got a chance to finally give everything over to God and start talking to Him again. And what a rush. It was so wonderful to talk to Him again. Even though He'd always been there, I hadn't let Him in. And the people there helped me work through why I'd been so lost. And then God just took it over. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. That's why I call it a miracle, because it is. I tried so hard in so many ways. And when I let God take it over, it was just lifted off my shoulders. And that doesn't happen to everyone, I know, but sometimes God helps in different ways to get you well. But He took it over, and then from then on, I would rely on Him whenever I was tempted to drink or anything. Recovery is a way of life that has to do with lots of things other than drinking. You know, like if you are not being honest with yourself, that's a bad sign that you could relapse. So God helps me be honest with myself, for example.
That's too powerful. Like, just like feel, like you leave everything to God's hand, right? God starts to work with you, but also you need to put part of you, right? Like, it's not like God is gonna just everything and then you're cured, or you were tempted again, right?
Oh, yeah.
To drink and everything. What thoughts came into your mind, like family or like fear or like?
Well, if I could quit for my family, I would have. It's got to be something more powerful. It's got to be turning it over to God. And so when I have fears and temptations and things like that, I just give it to God and I pray and I pray. And I work a program. Every alcoholic or addict has a program of sorts. Mine is spiritual readings. And a lot of people go to AA regularly, and that's a God thing. I have members of my family who are in recovery, and we pray together, and we talk a lot about, hey, I'm feeling this. I got to talk through, and their answer is always, have you talked to God about it? So it is a huge blessing that the recovery is, really, because it gives you an avenue to God that you have to stay on that path. If you don't stay on that path with God, you're going to fall away and be in the abyss again, And so it's a blessing to keep you focused on God. And that's what you have to do when you have those feelings, is you can't quit for your family or anything. You just have to give it to God. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And so how did you start drinking? Like, there was an approach of like curiosity, or there was a person that like give it to you, or what was that? Because at that age of middle school, well, the only way is like I found it at home, or there's like older friends that will like do that, like. So how was that?
Well, the year was 1970 something. Things were a little different in the 70s, but in a small town of Shatter, Nebraska, it was not hard for a middle school ager to get alcohol. We have a college town, and somebody always had an older brother or older sister. We had what was called buyers that we knew who lived in town and would buy alcohol for teens, and then you'd give them $5, to do it. It really was not hard. I went to a sleepover, and we stayed in the girl's garage, and she had Boone's Farm wine, and that was it. That was the first time. It wasn't uncommon. I don't think it's uncommon now, but it is scary because you are kind of playing with fire. You don't know when that's going to be a genetic disposition, or even when you're younger and you drink enough, you can, get early onset alcohol just from drinking too much. And it gave me kind of an ability to talk better. I was kind of shy. And so I thought, oh, I can talk to boys, and I feel more confident, and I can make a fool out of myself. And so I did continue drinking, and it was within a couple of years I had quit every activity I was in. And I had a bad relationship with my family, who I had had a great relationship with. And I was changing friends that would drink with me. And it just already had me in control.
What you could tell kids right now, right, when they're playing with fire? What is your recommendation? Because even if we would like to take care of them and keep them in a bubble and like just nothing let them happen, you know? Like the world is too big and sometimes we're not gonna be there, or like, you know, like it's gonna be one of like one situation that someone is gonna bring alcohol when they were like, you know, how you would like tell them like what would be your recommendation, you know, like.
Well, it's kind of twofold. One is, don't let yourself get into those situations. Pick good friends, have good activities. You know, because you're right, you can't live in a bubble. It's going to be out there, but you don't have to be exposed to it all the time if you make the right choices. But the other one is more important, and that is to develop this strength within yourself. And for parents too, help your kids, you know, have this self-love, so you don't have this hole in the soul that you want to fill with alcohol, you know, and help them experience trying things, failing, difficult things, so that they can handle those things, help them get through it, so when those difficult times arise, they don't resort to chemicals. And just, you know, I think picking the right friends is big. Having a good relationship with your parents is big. But this filling up of your soul, that has to come from your spiritual health and having that relationship with God. You know, keep it strong, nurture it. Kind of put your armor of God on, so to speak.
Yeah. And for those, whoever, if someone is watching us, right, who knows, that are already a little bit more into that, and they start to notice these small changes on themselves. What is your recommendation for those kids, those people, you know?
Turn to an adult. You can turn to your friends, and I know they're important to you, but that's kind of too much for a kid to handle. You need a trusting adult. And that could be your folks. It could be someone in the church. It could be someone in your neighborhood, or a teacher or a counselor. But the sooner you reach out and ask for help, the better. And nobody's going to say, oh, you've been drinking, you know? No, they're going to say, wow, thank you for having the courage to come to us. And let's see what we can do to help you.
And sometimes, and this even for me, when I was a kid and I was doing something wrong and I knew I need to tell them, like someone to get help, right? I would feel bad. So like I think a lot of kids like feel that shame of like, I feel like I'm like start to drinking a lot, but reach to the parents sometimes is really hard. But I think they need to know that their parents, even if at some point they're gonna be mad with you, the first thing that they want for you is like the best, you know, like take care of you. So like, yeah, don't doubt to like reach to someone that really loves you, you know?
You know, you expect the worst, you know. Even when I went to treatment and had to tell people, I thought I was going to lose friends and lose my job, and people would think of me differently. And instead, I was just surrounded by all this support and love. And I think kids will be surprised if they reach out. I think they'll be surprised that people do really understand. I think in society today, the more we talk about alcoholism or other addictions, the more you realize how it is a disease and it needs love and compassion and not shame.
I love that.
Yeah.
And moving on a little bit more, I asked you to pick 3 questions of some that I gave you. So I would like to know. So you pick C.
What is their purpose?
Yeah. What would you think is your purpose?
You know, I think I used to think, gosh, what is my purpose? I must have some big purpose. There was a program and a book that came out, What is Your Purpose? 40 Days to Finding Your Purpose.
Oh.
I don't think we necessarily have one big purpose. I think you might have a little purpose every day. This might be my purpose, helping someone to understand alcoholism, or just helping a kid through a hard time at school, or lifting up my parents when they're feeling lonely out at the rest home. You know, God has need for you throughout the world, and He needs you to go shine His light here and there. And if you listen and look for opportunities, there's a lot of His purpose out there that you could be a part of.
Yeah, and you're totally right. Like sometimes when we hear the word purpose, is like this huge. You know, you need to change the world, or like at least maybe for high schoolers or middle schoolers, purpose, that's a huge word. Even for me, sometimes I say like, what is my purpose? But you're right. Every day there's something that you can change. There's someone that you can help. There's a small task that God has for you that day. You know. For what in your life do you feel the most grateful?
Being forgiven.
Tell me a little bit more about being forgiven.
Yeah, that goes with my recovery. I feel that no matter what has happened or gone on or happens today, that I am forgiven if I ask God's forgiveness, and so that gives me a second chance, a third chance, a 300th chance, and that helps us go on with life.
So you're saying that God, doesn't matter how many times you fall, you're gonna be forgive,
right,
and forgive and forgive 300 times, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You will have a second chance.
Because if you live with guilt and shame, you're under a rock, and you're just, So I'm so grateful to be free of guilt and shame, and full of God's grace and mercy.
When do you feel the most at peace?
In the morning,
Okay.
I go down and have my coffee, and I do a morning reading, a spiritual reading. And then I just sit there and listen to God. And that's so peaceful. And the day may get crazy the rest of the day, but I have that. I have filled my cup.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for whatever life can throw at me, because I have that peaceful time in the morning.
Do you find God like during your day, like you say in the morning, right? But that cup starts to fill out, and there's that point that you feel like, oh my God, Is there like a way that you can reconnect with God during work, or how that works?
I have to make a conscious effort to do that, because being at school or other places, there's so much going on around you. So I have to make a conscious effort. I have little signs hanging in my room, or little trinkets I have with spiritual messages on it, and things like that bring me back to center. But I think you need to make a conscious effort to check in with God in some way, to refill your cup just a little bit.
Yeah, take 3 minutes, 5 minutes of your day, and just like take a big breath and just like reconnect. You're right. Like feel the ground, right? Yeah, sometimes that's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. And I don't always remember to do it. And then I feel it. I feel stressed or angry. And that's a check yourself moment. And then I better find some way to get some peace and some connection. Yeah.
And before we leave, I have a book about that I do this with everyone that comes here. So pick a number from 1 to 3,000.
8. That's my lucky number.
Your lucky number? All right. A lot of people just pick like the really farthest one, or like they really like the first one says like, what do you? Oh my gosh, what do you most dislike about your appearance?
Okay, that's an easy one. Actually, it's my nose.
Okay.
But it's like my grandma's nose and my dad's nose, and so although it drives me nuts, it's a little big and bumpy and all this stuff. It is a connection to my family.
It gives you personality.
Yeah. And my grandma was the most beautiful person.
There you go.
So, even with her wrinkles.
And do you have something else to tell the people that are watching us right now?
If you ever come across anyone who has an addiction or a drinking problem or something of that, if you can shine God's light a little bit and listen, just be an ear, ask what you can do, support them, and try not to judge them, then you might just really make a difference in someone's life. You might be that person God sends. So I just wanted everyone to be aware that there's hope. There's hope out there.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Sure.
I really appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you guys for watching us today, and see you next Friday.